I love the idea of isekai stories. Maybe it was because of the way I was raised, but stories that offer a refugee from this bland looking reality always rang true with me. My first isekai was this, and then the smartphone one, and I've consumed dozens of others following those, and teenage me saw nothing wrong with these. But as reality started to harden and the fog of puberty started to clear, my brain started feeding me shocking information. Information that said most isekais were trash, and it was all due to overly similar patterns within the shows, i.e., the tropes, if you will. Now, the idea that certain things have become tropes just because other people are repeating it doesn't sit well with me because I believe in execution. But it evidently is a thing, and I decided to rank those from best to worst. The best one being getting isekai. Now, I don't want to hear no arguments regarding it because you know it's true. And the somewhat okay one is the fantasy racist thing like elves, orcs, goblins, the fan favorites. While others might argue that there's no variety, I'm not completely against it. Though I too want there to be other races, but I'm not overly against it. And now, time for the problematic ones. One of those tropes being harems. And the crazy thing about this is that I'm not even completely against it. Like, in fact, I want one too. If people are okay to love whoever they want, regardless of their skin color, why is it that quantity is a problem? Because as they say, different strokes for different folks, right? But I digress. I, however, don't like harem stories when they are the main focus of the entire show. And the way these main characters be out here forming their harems has me thinking that these niggas is greedy. So reluctantly, I have to say that the harem tropes in isekais is just bad. So too is the underage nonsense. Like, if you guys haven't seen the new lore drop about age in fiction being just a number, check it out because I completely agree with this brother. So anime goes with squeaky voices and underage physiques or whatever that means, with the mannerisms of a child, have to go. And that's regardless of their fictional age. I don't care. So, if you sound like this, then this shit is bad, my guy. But I hate the fact that when the whole world started accusing anime watchers of being absent ambassadors for liking this type of content, the anime watchers shifted all the blame to isekai shows, when in fact it's an anime problem. Like, why even bother pointing the fingers and passing the blame? But I digress. What also needs to go at this point is the slaves, bruv. Like, why do most isekai shows love the slavery system? This to me is just a byproduct of what the author be out here thinking, because honestly, this shit is way too normalized. And it is clear that this is just the author's twisted desire because of how this shit is justified. Because in some cases, you'll have the slaves themselves talking about wanting to be slaves just because the main character is nice and some shit. And how happy they are just being slaves, which, if you don't know, is weird.
Probably some old man who would see this and say, damn, what happened to the kin that I love?
This diluted form of slavery is weird. And this ties into the harem trope again because half the time, those slaves or female characters are either just kids or just a bland fetish that the author just wants to realize. And don't even look at cultivation novels, bruv. It is crazy there. And my issue isn't so much so that slaves are being used. There are plenty of stories with the slavery system. My problem is that these isekais can't handle this topic properly. And that just pisses me off. And because I've seen shows that implement slavery quite well, this is just bad. Because if slavery is the problem, most of the time it doesn't even get solved, and instead, the main character just becomes the biggest patriot, even if at the beginning he was against it. And this is because of another trope that is just trash. That one dimensional character that just can't or doesn't push two brain cells together is trash. Like, for instance, now for me from Shield Hero. Now, this dude, isn't the least bit noble and initially buys Raftalia because he can't use any other weapons and he needs to save the world. And even he himself isn't so happy about the idea, but fast forward later, and this man has already increased the size of his party because he kept buying slaves like it's a bad habit. But unlike a bad habit, he doesn't regret it. And even worse, the show tried passing this on like it's okay, like it's just falling down or whatever. Because you have Rapsalia herself saying that she's happier now than she ever was. And now Fumi doesn't even show the slightest reaction to this. Just a businessman trying to haggle the price of another human being. So he's trash. But again, the one-dimensional character problem isn't an Isekai exclusive problem, but I feel it more so in a show about someone getting a second chance at life after they blew their first one. And I really feel that these shows need to get injected with character. And for that, what needs to be extracted is the overpowered main characters. Because most of these overpowered guys aren't even overpowered in the logical or illogical sense. They tend to be overpowered in the overly convoluted and boring sense. My first overpowered show is the smartphone one, but at the time I was still getting into anime, so I just enjoyed it. And then Isekai, I think, did the overpowered thing very well, is the overpowered hero. Now, granted, it's been a while since I've watched it, so I don't know how it holds up. So I'll also put this at trash. And lastly is the names, like whatever happens to the short one or two worded titles, because some of the titles be telling you exactly what happens in the entire show without giving you the time for someone else to spoil it for you. So isekais with long ass names need not to even be watched. And so, with these as a reference, let's speedrun these, okay? The trope that everyone besides the bland main character is incompetent is something you don't even need to watch. Another good trope I like is magic. Like, I don't even need to say more. Also, the best trope is when there's no magic, because most of the time there being no magic means that the stories are grounded. But something you shouldn't even bother watching is when the main character has a convenient or cheap magic that allows them to be OP. The concept itself is almost always interesting, but the execution is just hot garbage. And regardless of your personal religion or your beliefs, but the concept of a god giving them power is just trash to me. And the trope that I think that is somewhat okay is the fight scenes not having much suspense in them. Because reason being for me is that the fight scenes aren't the selling point. I'm just really desensitized to fight scenes these days. But a trope I hate seeing that makes me immediately drop the show is inconsistent. Like from either the show or the character or the metric system. Like I really hate this with a passion because this always shows up at the last moment or at a very convenient moment for the main character. And I know that anime is a Japanese thing and that most of these authors are Japanese, but the fact that most of these isekai characters are also Japanese makes me ask, but why though? And I have lots of useless information in my head, like how to make soap from scratch, but isekai main characters tend to know every modern invention without any given reason. Like, also, I just stumbled upon this. Is Doctor Stone also an isekai? I don't know, but I feel like Senku is an exception, I think. But anyways, isekai characters will know how to make even a gun, my guy, from scratch. Whenever I stumble upon a show like this, it's trash. Fine then. What are your thoughts regarding isekais that turn the main character into an object? Well, you don't even watch those, right? And let's ignore this as well, okay? Well, what about the fact that because the author has trust issues, so too does the main character, and because of that, he never shows his full power to anyone? It's bad, right? Okay. Then what about the trope that only the men are evil and they just want to grape women? This is trash. Okay. But enough of this negativity. What about some positive tropes? I mean, I guess I like the idea that most isekais are just, about creating a new life. But I've already said that. Well, this is a huge stretch that I don't entirely believe in myself. But I guess the world building is okay. Like, it's not like the best, but it's okay. But that's it. I'll do some research and try having more positive stuff in here. But here's the list. Anyways, I don't know if I achieved my goal of 3 videos this week, but at least this one is out. And well, that's all,
That's
folks.
all,
Was I meant
folks.
to say that?
Is he allowed to
Really?
say that? Legally?